Hello and welcome to the Drug Trip. This channel is here to feed the curiosity of those who would like to gain an insight to the effects of various drugs and substances through user experiences and stories, with our main goal being to entertain and reduce harm and abuse. We post regular trip reports every few days, so if you do enjoy these, we would really appreciate it if you subscribed. And more importantly, we love to hear our viewers' thoughts, opinions and experiences, so please leave something for us in the comment section and we may use it in a future video. Enjoy and be safe. I'm 26 years old, I live in California, and I started relatively later than most into drinking and drugs. I started drinking when I was 19, as well as smoking weed, and I have tried some speed, which is the worst drug on this planet. Once was more than enough for me, and I have tripped on shrooms 3 times and had a great time for each one. I had been told of Salvia by a few acquaintances, and from what I was told, the general consensus was that Salvia was either A, complete bullshit, fake weed, or B, a total trip out experience that was unlike anything else they had ever experienced in their life. Naturally, this piqued my interest. Could such a drug exist that had such obvious parity in experiences? I had to see for myself, so being the studious man that I am, I decided to read all about this strange plant before I bought it. I read all the FAQs that I could find to gauge the usage, settings recommended, and etc. After fully immersing myself in all the Salvia knowledge that I could, I felt confident in making a purchase on the strongest variant I could find, which is called standardised lab tested 20 times extract. Personally, I enjoy taking life to the farthest extremes, so even though I was a first timer, I had no apprehension whatsoever of going straight into the hard hitting pinnacle of Salvia. I remember waiting for 4 days for that discreet brown padded envelope arriving at my place. I opened it up, observed the 1 gram of Salvia as being rather dark brownish in colour, and it smelt like freshly cut morning dewed grass. I said, cool, let's do this, and I prepared my bong with the Salvia locked and loaded. Now, the place I was staying at was one of my family members' houses, with his wife and their 2-year-old kid. I had notified them that I was going to take something that may trip me out hard, and to not get worried or concerned that I was losing my mind, I decided to make the trip alone, without a sitter, which was, in retrospect, a colossal mistake. Bring a sitter or pay the consequences like I did. So I head out to the porch, where 2 dogs are known to hang out in the backyard. I take a big hit of the Salvia, hold it in for 30 seconds, which was fairly difficult to do, as I started to feel the effects creeping in about halfway through the hit. I remember blowing out the hit, then around 2 seconds later, my mind and world blew apart. I remember this distinct feeling of, what the fuck? Then my world went into hyperspace mode. Whoosh. It literally blew my field of vision apart, and everything went 1,000 miles an hour, except me. I knew I was standing upright, but I completely forgot about everything, including the bong I was holding. I must have fell, because all of a sudden, I remember my mind doing black flips and somersaults. I was rolling like I was in a box that somebody kept flipping over end on end. And as it turns out, I did indeed fall, and I scared the living shit out of the dogs. They did not come back for over an hour. But the bad news was I had fallen and broken my bong, and I had cut my arm with the glass pieces. I did not feel any pain at the time though. I was more stricken by an insanity of what the hell was going on more than anything. By some miracle, I got myself back into the house and into my room. My room is not my room now. I am now in first person mode, like in Doom or a similar game. The lights are on, but nothing feels real. I feel like I am in my own cartoon. Sound became unreal and very echoey. I said out loud, what the fuck? And then some alien voice that was somehow mine, but somehow at the same time wasn't mine, repeated it back to me in a mocking tone. as if it was a little game, and now I had entered its world, I got frustrated with this voice that sounded like it was coming through a tin can amplified through a megaphone. Suddenly, I went through the walls. I was 5,000 feet away, looking at myself in the room, but it was like the room had been placed directly in outer space, and I was seeing the cube and myself as a tiny little figurine inside. During this time, I remember feeling like I was flying, but the world melted. Deja vu crept in violently. I had been here before, but how did I get here? I was seriously afraid now. I thought at that time I had lost my mind, seriously, and that I was stuck in this fucking game, and somehow everyone was fucking with me. I tried to walk out of the door into the hallway, but every time I tried to get up, it would loop the same thing over and over again. I couldn't get out. This frustrated me to no end. Now, I was annoyed and feeling rather helpless. I said, "What the fuck?" one last time. This time, the white walls in my room absorbed the words that I said, and the words were actually visible as if I had written them on the wall, but I didn't. The "what the fuck" ran up the floor, then ran up the wall vertically, and melted into it, and came through the ceiling and disappeared. Then the wall I was looking at became a white, shag-haired carpet texture that bristled like a strong wind was gusting across it. I was beyond disbelief. Then my brother's wife and her 2-year-old daughter came in to see what was going on. They looked real and solid, but they were both smiling at me, so I assumed they were running this cartoon game that I was stuck in. The world around them was hyperspace blurred, but not their faces. I looked past them in the living room where the TV was, and sure enough, there was a squat, 5-foot-tall silhouette of a figure. Not quite a man, but seemed like an imitation one. The shadow man peeped his head around the corner, flashed his 2 diamond eyes at me, and then chuckled and disappeared. My brother's wife and daughter now asked me a question, but it didn't make any sense. It sounded like I was in Charlie Brown Peanuts world, and they were just the wah 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 noises that are heard, but no real words. I said my arm feels funny, and it didn't feel like my arm. It felt like stinging sandpaper. I was bleeding from the cut of my fall, but when I looked to see the cut on my arm, the cut disappeared and looked completely normal. I then told my brother's wife that she isn't real and that nothing is real. She told me, no, I am real, so I knew she was. So I grabbed out to her and accidentally pushed the little girl she was holding. She then told me to stop it, so I said sorry and I tried to regain some composure. Finally, I started to regain some composure, and the cartoon world seemed to fade out moment by moment. The total trip time was around 10 minutes, and I was extremely terrified the entire time. As it turns out, I did everything wrong. The setting was set up for all the wrong disturbances to occur. I fell and broke my bong, so that most likely triggered the bad trip. In retrospect, I should have not been alone, but with somebody, or at least alone in a quiet room with very little or no light, and never around people who are not understanding of drug usage. Fast forward a week later, trip number 2 I had with my friends and who had never had salvia before, and I was anxious to try it again with better company and better settings. This time was much more fun, but still very scary, as salvia completely destroys my mind while I'm in its world. The main difference this time was that I did 20x salvia in the car, and the world became words, and when I say in words, I mean the trees became an F, a curb rolled up to make part of a U, a window dissolved and made a C, and the lawn and house merged for a K. Everything became words, even my friends. They became letters with just a mouth and teeth. These words were actually laughing and talking to me like everything was perfectly fine. Also, the curb below my feet as I opened the car door became a Grand Canyon of impossible distance, so I wasn't able to jump out the car. Another interesting note was that the houses and yards took on these bizarre skins. It was like I was seeing actual blood cells and plasma running through their surfaces, not unlike those science shows you see that will show under microscopic magnification what exactly happens inside blood. Everything felt like my own cartoon. It was complete and utter insanity. So in closing, I recommend anyone with an interest in getting completely interesting and albeit frightening trip that isn't like anything else on planet Earth to try 20 times standardised lab-tested salvia. It will open your eyes and make you question everything in life afterwards, and everything will change as far as interpretation is concerned.